Yo, um, I decided to make this double feature video because there are many things that are starting to repeat themselves. One, the exploitation in the Congo. Two, the war in the Ukraine. Um, and I'm going to start off by saying that I don't know what the right answer is. I just hope that you see what I'm seeing. I don't expect you to understand. I don't expect you to have a solution. Um, and I can also understand if you don't have the same perspective that I have. I just think that, us as people, maybe we should stop um, looking for somebody else to do it. Maybe it's up to us to make a difference. And I mean us as individuals. We're always looking for, somebody to come save us, but it's just another person to take advantage. And I think where knowledge is, understanding has to be also complemented. There's a lot of things that people are up in outrage about, but you got to take, for instance, um, time in history, the social climate, and also what actually is playing out. The situation that I'm going to briefly discuss may be the biggest thing since the West African slave trade. Not one time, but two times, where everyone in the world benefited from something somebody else had to produce. This is my opinion. This is not, empirical fact. Some of the things that I'll be discussing are empirical facts, but this is just my brief assessment of what's happening in the DRC. Hope you're willing to listen, and thank you. Bye. Yo, so I have another segment. This one I have to give credit to a battle buddy of mine. His name is Yusef Clark. He was instrumental in sparking the flame for me to dig deep into this story. Currently, there is a supply chain conundrum, and this supply chain conundrum is based out of somewhere we call the DRC. In any other universe, this place would probably be the equivalent of what we call Wakanda. But unfortunately, the divisive forces that exist and the just human nature, and it's a little disappointing. And the reason that I want to expound on this is because in my last video I brought up briefly King Leopold, and I want to bring him to the forefront. And also, there are patterns that are happening where things are starting to repeat themselves. And this is very concerning because if we call ourselves people that are juxtaposed on the idea of changing for the better, why are things happening over and over again? So I wanted to start with 3TG and cobalt. So 3TG stands for three T's, which is tantalum, tungsten, and tin. The G is for gold. All these resources are heavy in the Congo. But on top of all that, there is another resource called cobalt. Cobalt is a resource that we utilize for smart devices. Are rechargeable smart devices. So we have lithium batteries, but they're also intertwined with cobalt. And that's what gives the charging factor that we have in our smart devices. Now, I'm a techie dude. I like tech, but I had to pause for a moment once I got a chance to realize what was going on. So I am going to start from the beginning of the genesis of the current state, Belgium. And then I'm going to walk you until the current time. So in 1815, there was a state called the Southern Netherlands. This, with the Northern Netherlands, or the Netherlands that we know today, which is Holland, they came together and they were led by King William I. In 1830, September 27th, the forces of King William I were pushed out of the Southern Netherlands. And later that year, this piece of land became Belgium. So Belgium is from a historical standpoint, is a new state. The first king of Belgium is King Leopold I. He's the first of his name, and he is I think he comes from Saxe-Coburg. He rules until 1865, and in which his illustrious son, King Leopold II, takes over as king of Belgium. Now, I don't know how accurate this is, but the Belgian government and the Belgian king were not on the same page. Belgium is a very small country. I want to say it's a landlocked country as well. Don't hold me to that. But it's in Western Europe. And, you know, this country speaks a combination of French and Dutch, because it used to be one and the same. So Mr. Leopold decides that he wants to have a slither of a colony, right? And this is interesting because it's very late in the game of slavery, right? Because, you know, thought that, you know, around this time, slavery was being outlawed by all the Western countries. However, Mr. Leopold had another thought in mind. So there is initially he goes down to this free state of Congo for the ivory. And ivory was something very big before plastics came into play. But around the 1890s, the automotive revolution was taking flight, and one of the big commodities was rubber. And rubber, and if I'm going, you know, carrying on, I'm getting to a point here. And this is what I'm talking about, things repeating themselves. And this is the concern. This is something that we as humans, we need to pay attention to. So bicycle tires, automotive tires, cabling for electrical wiring, and a plethora of other things become in demand. There's a plant called hold on, I don't want to mess this up, called the Ladelphia vine. This resource, and if I messed it up, please correct me, but This resource is the source of all the rubber content in the rainforest in the Congo. This exploitation of this led to the population decline of 10 million people. I won't say that it was mass genocide, but I can tell you one thing. There's a lot of starving, and how it was done was there was a monthly quota. This monthly quota was presented. So what the 19,000 man army that King Leopold II had for himself, making himself the proprietor of the Free State of Congo, right? Free State, right? He decides that he is going to hold all women in the village hostage. And with this, he decides that he's going to work the men, he's going to work them, he's pretty much going to work them to death, right? To generate this resource. And how he did that, he, held wives and daughters hostage. And, I always wondered what was the chopping off the hands thing all about? Well, I figured it out today. So apparently the force publique, or the public force, right? For ammunition's sake, they had to account for every round of ammunition that they fired. And if they missed, or better yet, if they fired a round of ammunition, a severed hand had to be part of the deal, right? So they had to pretty much claim, keep the what they killed. They had to bring a severed hand. So it was a person they killed, they had to bring a severed hand. So they missed, even when they're hunting game. And what was happening was they were missing shots. So what they would do, they would go in the village and they would sever hands of living people. And something very cruel. I would go down the line of King Leopold II, but there's not enough time. And, for a lack of a better term, I would just say that he lived a life of opulence at the expense of everyone around him. And when he had to give up the Free State of the Congo in 1908, he even made the Belgian government pay him for it. Now that is a trip. Now I'm going to conclude this half, but part 2, I'm going to talk about the second exploitation of the Congo. This is briefly the first exploitation of the Congo, and how it had a drastic effect on the people there. And I could be wrong, but it seems like they have never been able to recover, and another technological revolution is on its way. And it seems that this is going to be another unfortunate exploitation of these people. So if you got the stomach for it, tune in to part 2. All right. Peace. Yo, so this is part 2 of exploitation of the DRC. I call this the smoking gun behind the smartphone age. So here we go. So talking about 3 TGs again. These 3 TGs are found in the following. The minerals are called the cassiterite, coltan, and wolframite. Cassiterite is for tin, coltan is for tantalum, and tungsten is for wolframite. A lot of this information I gathered during the Joe Rogan podcast with Siddharth Kara. He's coming out with a book at the end of the month called Cobalt Red, which he goes into detail of the artisanal mines in the DRC, specifically in the southeast portion of the country. So for comparison purposes, every smartphone has approximately 2.25 teaspoons of cobalt that's required for this the battery to operate. With the EV demand and high demand, it is going to take about 10 kilograms of refined cobalt to go into each battery pack of an EV car. And for my friends in the West or my friends in the United States, right, that are not familiar with kilograms, just because, I guess unless you know about drugs or something, you would know about it. I don't. So that's 22 pounds of refined cobalt that goes into each EV battery. Now, you may be saying, oh, it's not that bad. Well, hold on a minute. 70% of the cobalt in the world resides in the DRC. So once this resource is used up, there is no more cobalt, unless you're going to go deep sea diving or something like that. Now, there are other cobalt places in the world, but the concentration of what this is, there's nowhere else in the world where you can get it. It will not be, we can't go anywhere else to fulfill the world's supply or the world's demand of cobalt. So this is problematic. So I'm going to go back to the term artisanal miner, right? Because it sounds, I don't know, artsy. It's anything but artsy. So imagine that you have a smartphone where you can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G on, and the people that mine them have to mine them with hammer and chisels, because we have not advanced in the past 2,000 years, which I find very interesting. So this is where it gets a little painful. So there are approximately 19 cobalt mines known in the DRC. 15 of the 19, they are out of China. One is a company called Glencore, which is I want to say a Swiss-Canadian connection. Oh no, Swiss, Great Britain connection. There are three other mines. It's just unknown who are their owners. For all we know, it's probably the United States. I don't know, but that's that, right? So these resources, they're in our smartphones, they're in our vehicles, regular and EV vehicles. They're also in our lighting and wiring in the house. So anything that has a switchboard, not a switchboard, but how I want to say it, anything that has a circuit card on it, there's a very high possibility that there is gold that operates on it. So a disclaimer, the only EV producer that has stepped away from cobalt being in their batteries is a company called Tesla. Other than that, everyone else is playing ball. So you may be saying, well, James, what's the big deal? The big deal is things are repeating itself, and it's a concern to me, right? And perhaps, maybe it's a long shot, but maybe electronic device conservation is necessary to slow down, the overproduction of, these people. So, you're like, oh, what's the big deal about cobalt? Well, technically it's toxic. So the people that are digging up this resource, they're killing themselves. And not only that, they got their babies on their backs while they're trying to get this resource. So, we say that, we don't want to stand up for, not stand up. We're going to stand against human exploitation and the welfare of people. But, how serious are we? Because this resource is something that the whole world is using. There's nobody that's, in the 21st century that's not using a smart device. Case in point. So, So I guess apparently the spike in the demand for cobalt happened about 10 to 12 years ago. So about 2010, this is when everything took off, right? The problem that I have, and, I'm pretty sure some smart guy somewhere is going to figure it out, is at the current rate of what's going on, there's no way that this resource will be able to be around after the end of the decade. There's no way. We're talking about, each year the yield becomes higher and higher. I don't know what the answer is, but a solution is needed for this if we're saying that we are the people that we say we are. So the 15 out of Chinese origin, the facilities, right? China Molybdenum Company, the Chuting Mining, China Non-Ferrous Metal Mining Group, and Haidu Cobalt in Zhejiang. These are some of the Chinese companies. The state-controlled mining group is called Jicamines. I think I'm saying it right. I'm not sure. And these are all over the city, some of the cities in the DRC, right? Kasalo, Lululabana, Kawama, and Mutanda. These are some of the cities that are affected by this. This is one of the things that kind of bothered me. So they have thousands of tunnels that are underground where they dig and they go get this cobalt that they make to refine. The problem is there are many times that these tunnels are not designed in a way where they can sustain a certain weight. So what happens is a lot of times the tunnels will collapse right on top of the people. And, hundreds of people die, when a tunnel collapses and nothing stops. And a lot of times these people are held against their will. We're talking about, AKs, Kalashnikovs, and like I said, I understand the world is a dirty game. It's messed up. But maybe if we start talking about this stuff, then maybe we can do something about it. Well, there you have it. May not be, I don't know, as glamorous, but it is something worth talking about, something worth thinking about. And, could it be what we're buying, what we're participating in, is, doing more harm than good? All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Take care. I'm out.